Welcome to the Mayor's 5th Annual Senior Symposium. This day is very special for many, many reasons. And before I start the introductions, I'd like you to help me to do something, because I like to get the audience involved. I'm going to say this symposium has a theme, and the themes are healthy homes, healthy hearts, and healthy living. So what I want you to do when I say healthy homes, I want you to repeat after me. Are you ready? Yes. All right, let's say healthy homes.
Healthy homes.
Healthy hearts.
Healthy hearts.
Healthy living.
Healthy living.
Now give yourselves a round of applause. It's my pleasure to introduce to you to also participate in the welcoming part of this ceremony, a good friend, a lady I've had the pleasure of working with for many, many occasions just like this one. It's my pleasure to present to you the Executive Director of the D.C. Office on Aging, my good friend, Miss Laura Newland. Please welcome her to the stage.
Everyone forgets how short I am. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, I am so happy to be here this morning with you all. We can all agree it's a beautiful facility, isn't it? Yeah. And it is so wonderful to see so many of your beautiful faces. And I see a lot of old friends here in the crowd, and I want to thank you for joining us today. I am Laura Newland. I'm the Executive Director of the DC Office on Aging, and I want to thank our Mayor, Mayor Muriel Bowser, for her support for seniors here in the District of Columbia and really committing to making sure that the district is an age-friendly city. We really couldn't do this event and other events like it without her support. Today we have with us our City Administrator, Rashad Young, and our Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Brenda Donald, and they'll send their greetings right after me today. But I want to thank them personally for working so hard to make sure that you are a priority for this city. So I know you all know about this already, but one of the ways in which this administration has shown their commitment to you and to age-friendly is through our Safe at Home program. It's our grants program where we help people stay in their homes by putting in accessible modifications that allow them to access their bedrooms and their bathrooms and put in ramps so that it makes it easier for them to age in place and safer. I also want to thank the council and the mayor for her support of passing the Financial Exploitation of Vulnerable Adults and the Elderly Amendment Act of 2016. This is a bill that really says the district takes seriously financial fraud and exploitation of seniors here in the District of Columbia. I want to acknowledge our chairwoman of the Commission on Aging, Romaine Thomas, here in the front. She's with us today. Her dedication and leadership to advancing the needs of the senior community has tremendously impacted our senior advocacy and policy development for the DC Office on Aging and the District of Columbia. So thank you, Chairwoman. Last but not least, I want to thank the DC Office on Aging staff. You may have seen them around today. Yeah, they deserve a huge round of applause. So I know I'm the only one who ever gets to stand before you and say thank you and to say hello so you know me and you see me. But my staff works so hard every day to make me look good. And I really appreciate the work that they've done. This is the first symposium. This is our 5th annual symposium, but this is the first symposium where I asked them to do this event on their own. without any help from events planning company. And I think we can all agree that they picked a beautiful venue that fits the historic nature of who we are as a city and who we want to be, and also made it accessible and an open, friendly place for all of our seniors here today. So I want to thank them very much for all of the hard work they do behind the scenes. So you all know the theme of this symposium because our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. C, made you say it. It is healthy living, healthy hearts, healthy homes. And we chose that theme because we know that what it takes to live well and to age well is more than just looking at physical indicators of health. It means creating a community where we can all live well together as neighbors and as friends, and where we can all connect together. So I really appreciate you all coming today. We know that getting older doesn't mean just getting old. And we know that when we talk about aging and we talk about appreciating what it means to be a senior and appreciating our senior community, that it's not about the accomplishments that you have already done, although there are many and we appreciate them. It is what you continue to contribute every single day. It's what you continue to give to us as a city and make us better. And you push us to be better as a city. And that's because of you and who you are today. So thank you so much for being here today and joining us. We are so excited to have this event. This year, we did it a little bit differently. You told us we'd really like to have a little bit more say in what the symposium is. So I hope this year you will see that our program is a reflection on what you told us you wanted. You wanted to know more about how to access district government. You wanted to know more about what we do and how we do it so that you could advocate better for yourself, your friends, and your neighbors. So that's what we try to do for you today. And so for the rest of today, this is all about you. So I hope you can relax and enjoy it. And if you need anything, you can find one of our staff or find me, and we will make sure that today is the best day that you have had so far this summer. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Laura. We should, have you up for president with a speech like that. Let's give another round of applause. I want to thank Mayor Bowser for the wonderful, wonderful exception that she makes for you, the seniors of our lovely, lovely District of Columbia. And part of her staff and her administration, of course, is the Deputy Mayor on Health and Human Services. She's a good friend, and she's here because she supports you. So I'd like to bring to the stage to bring you greetings the Honorable Brenda Donald, Deputy Mayor, Health and Human Services.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. All right, we're all awake and ready to go, right? Yes. So thank you for rising early, and we call ourselves seasoned residents. How do you like that term? We're always coming up with new terms as we all get older, and as our director said, it's not about being old, but I kind of like seasoned. So this is an exciting day, and there's so much energy and walking into this historic Dunbar High School. So I have a couple of questions. So how many of you have lived in DC, in your same neighborhood for at least 10 years? Look at that. Look at that. Okay, now, then I want to ask, keep your hand up. How many have lived in your same neighborhood for more than 20 years? Okay. 30? Wow. All right, I'm going out on a limb here. 40? Okay. 50 years. Round of applause. This is DC. This is what our city looks like. This is what we're striving to create when we talk about age-friendly. We talk about wanting to help people to stay and age in place in a way that you continue to thrive and grow and contribute to the fabric of this community. And you all represent that in ways that we've just seen here with hands raised, and we know that there are many, many, many more who are part of that fabric. DC has taken some really, undertaken some really important initiatives, improving more and more. You heard about Safe at Home. How many know about Safe at Home? Okay, and people come up all the time, and I want to thank Laura Newland and her team, and I know Councilmember Anita Bonds is here, who spearheaded legislation, and our own Commission on Aging, who really pushed to make sure that we were doing that right and that we were responsive to the needs of seniors. And guess what? That we weren't taking forever to do it, because we don't really have forever, right? We want to be able to enjoy our homes now and live safely. Thank you. Thank you, Judge. So I want you to be here today and enjoy and learn from all of the wonderful speakers, but also the wonderful information. We do a lot in the District of Columbia in terms of services and supports for our seniors. And so often I hear, well, I didn't know about that program. Why didn't you tell us? And we know that there are many, many ways to communicate. This is just one of those. And as our director said, this is in response to the kinds of things that you have asked us to share with you. So please make sure that you take advantage of all of the wonderful resources we have. You know, we've heard from many residents that more time on the telephone talking to others with similar interests would be helpful, right? It's part of socializing. It's part of getting out. I spent some time yesterday evening with my mom, who's 88, and she doesn't get out that much anymore, but she's connected by telephone and by the internet. But actually, she said she wants to go to the movies with me tomorrow, so I was really excited about that. The socialization is so important. So we have a program, Words of Wisdom, at George Washington University that's funded by AARP. And so I know that there's some people here to talk about that. So for those of you, obviously people here can get out, but your neighbors, your friends and relatives who may not, that's just another way to stay connected. We want you to also take a look at the July 20th New York Times article, which I believe was copied and made available in your packets. And it talks about our age-friendly DC, and it talks about all the wonderful things that we're doing. Thank you, Judge Terrell, leading that applause. We're pretty excited about that, and I had an opportunity to feature some of our seniors who are participating in one of the 50 or more community gardens that are all across the city. So here in DC, we're transforming into an easier place to grow older. We are good. We've got spotting ways to help one another. For example, we have more neighborhood villages, more per square mile than any other state. And you know, we're going to be the 51st state, right? You're going to help us do that. You're going to help our mayor drive that point home. So our villages build more opportunities to do good work for others, but also to involve seniors, again, in the fabric of the community. Now, that said, we have fewer of those neighborhoods east of the river. So we're going to focus our team and others on helping to build those villages east of the river, right? And people are going to help us with that? Thank you. So it's a theme that's resonating all over the country. It's about villages, and we've heard that before. It takes a village, right? And so we're going to continue our village work here, continue our age-friendly work, but most importantly, to try to be responsive to the needs of our seniors as you tell us what you want, what you need, and how you are going to help all of us to keep DC being the greatest city and soon-to-be state in our nation. Thank you very much.
Once again, we're talking about the mayor's staff and what a wonderful job they do, along with helping with this event today and making this happen for you. Also, a part of the mayor's administration is the city administrator. So it's my pleasure to bring greetings further. Rashad M. Young, Mr. Young, thank you so much.
Well, good morning. It is indeed a pleasure to be here this morning, and I'm happy to bring greetings to all of you from our Mayor Muriel Bowser and all of her executive team. Let's just give another hand to our great director, Laura Newland, who is really passionate and an advocate for seniors in this community. There are a couple of other our agency heads that are here. I saw Stephen Taylor, who's the director of the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking. Steve's over there. I also saw Melinda Bowling, who's the director of the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. So we have folks out who are interested in talking to you and working with you and making sure you have all the resources that you need. You know, there's a pretty significant shift all across the country that poses challenges and opportunities for older residents. And across the district, we share a common goal to make cities work better for you. Our mayor is at the forefront of this issue, working to improve conditions for older adults that'll lead to a brighter future for all ages. We want to make sure that this city continues to grow and thrive and be a place where our seniors and people of all ages can live, work, and play. In October, you all know, I'm sure, and were a part of the process, our journey that transformed DC to an age-friendly city by 2017, and our mayor supported this effort and will continue to champion DC's pursuit to be supportive and welcoming. As we build pathways to the middle class, age-friendly DC will ensure that seniors are part of this prosperity. We're going to continue to work with all of our government agencies, our community organizations, our partners, our residents, our stakeholders like you, as we work to provide quality services and programs to older residents. As your city administrator, I'm very proud to work with a number of city agencies to improve how we operate all across the district, whether it's the Department of Housing and Community Development to secure affordable housing, whether it's the district's Department of Transportation to provide safe and affordable modes of private and public transportation, or whether it's the Department of Parks and Recreation so that seniors have access to safe recreational facilities, or whether it's the Department of Employment Services where we work to expand workforce development. I'll take a clap for that. Thank you, Judge Terrell. Where we work to expand workforce development services and community partners on planning efforts at the local level. And of course, our own DC Office on Aging is leading that charge, demonstrating to agencies and to the leadership the significance of their service to our senior communities. So I'm proud to say that we have and will continue to answer that call to action. Throughout the day, you'll have the opportunity to learn not only from leading experts, but also from your peers. And so I hope that you enjoy the symposium today, that you'll be inspired to take action as we continue to work together to create healthier, stronger communities. So thank you again for your commitment and interest and dedication and your just being here and being a part of the fabric of the District of Columbia. You're so important to what makes this community great. So enjoy your symposium, and thank you for the opportunity to bring you greetings. Have a good morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Young. We appreciate you. I told you, everyone is involved with you, the seniors of our lovely, lovely city. So we thank you so much for coming out today, and I think you're going to have a wonderful symposium. It's going to be something that you will not forget. You're going to go home and you're going to talk about it. Now, this next young lady that I'm going to introduce is a good friend. Each time, I participate in one of these events involving the seniors here in Washington, D.C., she and I kind of end up sitting together and eating together if they have food, and she's always sharp, and I love her to death. She is the chairperson on the D.C. Commission on Aging. She is my good friend. Please welcome Romaine Thomas. Ms. Thomas, please.
All of you gave witness to that kiss, right? So we never grow too old to recognize one another and to be very enjoyable and happy. Of course, this is a great treat for me to stand here in the mighty Dunbar and to have this program here today. And it seemingly has gotten off to an excellent start. I want to thank you so much for those kind words. I'll say kind words. But first, I want to introduce our commissioners for DC. We have commissioners from all of the wards, a couple of wards. We're trying to do some replacements. But would the commissioners please stand? Our vice chair, who's here, Ron Swander, Grace Lewis, Buddy Moore, Carolyn Nichols, and some others. I'm sure they will be coming along. But we must give them credit and salute them for their hard work and their support for seniors in this city. And they are always available, they always respond, and they always give us an awful lot of hard work in terms of no pay, which we don't expect, but we do serve as volunteers. And we have the task of working to advise the mayor, the DC City Council, our citizens, the director for the Department of Aging, and for other citizens in the city. So we're very proud. And I say to everybody, you have the opportunity, if you would like to be a commissioner, just make sure that you let someone know that in your community, especially someone like the council person, or some other folk who would like to recommend you for taking on those positions. So think about it. You might want to join us, and we would be very happy to have all the support that's there. I am very pleased that I'm here to bring you greetings at this particular time. And I say to each and every person here today that this is really a very spectacular program sponsored by the Office on Aging. And I think it is one of the finest events held for seniors during the year. We congratulate our director, Newland, and her staff for all of the hard work and dedication that has been provided to make this a successful, meaningful, and enjoyable symposium. So let's all give them a big round of applause and thank them for everything. As you know, the DC Office on Aging provides the services, resources, activities, and programs that we need to maintain a comprehensive approach to support the needs and concerns of our senior population. And this means that we will have a longer, healthier life, even with all of the technology, with good care and good concern that supports our survival. And the DC Commission serves as advocates to make sure that we have the very best program possible to support seniors. Old age is and always will remain difficult to handle. It demands much from us and really seems to offer little in return. However, you must believe that there is a great strength and power in old age. We can have faith and courage to survive when we have the support, caring, and concern that can give us the faith to keep going. This is how we work hard and fight vigorously to avoid those diseases and disabilities that invade our struggle to stay healthy and live longer. I must say, our Mayor Bowser is committed to seniors, and she has endorsed the worldwide initiative to develop the initiative on age-friendly for the city. And I must say, I just read an article, and I think it was provided through Age Friendly from New York that said Washington, D.C. is the place to grow old. Clap. Great. How many people feel that way? All right, are you getting the services that you need? And all you have to do is we have a lot of information, but all you got to do is find out how to use that information or find someone to help you to use it. So I think we are headed in the right direction to becoming the golden city for seniors. It's wonderful to join together as seniors, family members, caregivers, providers, advocates, and community leaders and stakeholders to share thoughts and ideas on how we can make a difference for seniors and how age-friendly can become a reality for us all. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, the next lady that I'd like to introduce, you always see her anytime you have a senior event, and you will continue to see her because she is the current Miss Senior DC. So let's bring her to the stage, Billy Laverne Smith.
Good morning, everyone. I have been Miss Senior DC for a month and a week now, so I'm still in training. And thanks to my predecessor, Miss Senior DC 2015, Wendy Bridges, she's teaching me everything that I know. And thank you also to Laura Newman and the DC Office on Aging. What a wonderful organization this is. They were the sponsors of the Miss Senior DC pageant, and it was a great experience. I need to talk to some of you lovely young ladies out there about next year's pageant, because in 11 months I'll be passing it on to one of you. But this is, I had a brief opportunity to look through the program, and there's some wonderful information in there. There's some things I need to know. I'm one of those who went into seniorhood, or as Brenda Donald said, seasonhood, kicking and screaming. I didn't want to get older until one of my friends said, well, what's the alternative? So I haven't made that statement since she told me that. But the thing is that when you retire, you don't know all the things that you're going to need to know. I went through all of the orientation for retiring and all that, and when I came out, I didn't know anything. There's so much more that I needed to know that they don't teach you while you're still working. There's so much more you need to find out about, and this program has a lot of it in it. So I bring you greetings on behalf of the Miss Senior DC pageant. I hope some of you will be going with us to Atlantic City in October. I thank Darlene Nolan, because she's been leading me by the hand. She led me up here, as a matter of fact, to make sure I didn't run away. And this is the largest crowd I've ever spoken to in my life. So I'm a little bit nervous, but thank you all for this opportunity. I look forward to seeing some of you in the future. I'm going to try to attend as many activities as I can, because I like being with people, and I like being with seasoned citizens. Thank you very much.
For those of you who did not get a chance to come to the pageant last year, it was really something to behold. The talent, the efforts that these young ladies put into this pageant were just wonderful. If you get a chance, the next time we have a pageant, make sure you come out and join us. Matters of the Heart is the theme of our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is a medical internist and a cardiologist who has a private practice in Washington, D.C. She attended the University of Michigan, receiving a BS degree in psychology in '72 and a master's degree in chemistry from Atlanta University in '74. She graduated as the third woman of color in 100 years from the University of Louisville Medical School in 1978. Our speaker has served on the faculty of the University of Maryland Medical School as an assistant professor in the Division of Hypertension and Cardiology. She is just a wonderful lady. This lady was selected as the first inductee into the Washington, D.C. Hall of Fame in the area of health, class of 2000. She is a wife, a mother, and a daughter who has her PhD in engineering. Her daughter does, of course. And within her medical practice, there is a concern for, should I say, preventive cardiology, including weight reduction. We all know about that, don't we? Smoking cessation, we all know about that, don't we? Detection and control, cholesterol lowering, and of course, exercise. That's important, especially for seniors. She encourages a positive change in lifestyle to embody health and longevity. Do me a favor, say longevity, longevity. It is my pleasure to present to you a very positive role model, Dr. Patricia Davidson. Dr. Davidson.
So I have been asked to cut my speech in half, and I'm about to tell you the most important information you're going to have to stay alive. So I'm going to take the liberty of not paying attention. Since they didn't tee anybody else, they're not going to tee me off the stage, all right? Now, you all know what the #1 killer in America is, right? Heart disease. But do you also know it's the most preventable disease in America? So we're going to talk about how to prevent it. It's never too late to prevent it. It's never too late to treat it properly. It's never too late to work with your doctors a little bit better. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how you're going to keep yourself alive a little bit longer and be a little bit healthier. The disease that is killing us in America, the #1 killer, is called atherosclerosis, and that's the hardening of the arteries. It's the primary killer of all Americans, all ethnic groups, and both genders. And when you're born, your artery is supposed to be nice and clean like this here, and the artery is a factory. These two tiny arteries that you can't even see from the back of the room are called coronary arteries. You have a right and a left, and they are the size of a pencil tip. And you have to keep something the size of a pencil tip open. Now, did God make a mistake? So therefore, there is something that we are doing wrong if we are clogging something the size of a pencil tip. So it is coming with our lifestyle, because thousands of years ago, people didn't drop dead from heart attacks every 3 minutes like they do here in America. So this is your job to keep that open. Now, this is what your artery is supposed to look like. Your artery is a muscle. And inside of that muscle, you have all of these enzymes and hormones with 10-syllable words. And your goal is to keep the good ones up and the bad ones down. And when you're born, you hopefully have an artery that looks like this. Then over time, depending upon the lifestyle your parents have picked for you, because when you are an infant, you do not have a credit card, you are not going to the store, and you are not cooking your food. So depending upon the lifestyle your parents are picking for you, your artery plaque begins to form, and this is the plaque. And it's made up of cholesterol and a whole other, lots of other nasty debris. And then it begins to form even more plaque depending upon the lifestyle you're leading. And then something terrible happens in your life and your artery clamps down on itself and the plaque ruptures. Not the artery, but the plaque ruptures and the blood goes out into the artery. Now this particular artery has partial closure. So if it's partially closed, it's called an acute coronary syndrome. If it's totally closed, it's called a heart attack, because all blood is lost. The same thing happens in the brain. If you totally close it off, it's a stroke. If you partially close it off, it's a TIA that you all hear about, or they may call it a mini stroke, or they may call it a mini heart attack. All that means is the artery was not totally closed and you didn't lose tissue. So atherosclerosis is preventable. It is not a natural process of aging. You need to understand that. It is not natural. It means you have abused the body in some way and allowed the plaque to form in your arteries that you didn't have to allow. And it's also reversible. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The onset is in the fetal state if your mother has a high cholesterol when she's carrying you, because all that cholesterol is going through the fetus as well. Otherwise, it will begin in the first decade of life, depending upon the lifestyle you've chosen for your children. Erectile dysfunction is the first sign of artery wall dysfunction in men. Every time you cannot watch a single TV show in America without seeing an erectile dysfunction ad. That's because there's so much of it. The arteries that lead down to the pelvis are the same size as the arteries that lead to the heart. So those are clogging too. So the first sign that your arteries are beginning to clog may be from erectile dysfunction. That means that those arteries can't open up and clamp down like they're supposed to. Now, in the last few decades, we learned something called the vulnerable plaque. It is not the plaque that's been there for 50 years that has become rock hard and calcified over decades. It's the new plaque that just formed last year that's going to rupture and cause the heart attack. And if you put dye in this artery here, it's going to look nice and big. If you do a stress test or any test that you may do, your test is going to be normal because the plaque is only thin and small and you've got more than enough blood supply. So when you get a normal test, it doesn't mean that your arteries are normal. It just means that your arteries are not clogged enough for us to intervene on. And so you're trying to then, if somebody tells you that you've had some symptoms, but your tests are normal, then you work with your doctor to reverse your risk factors so that you can get rid of this plaque and you can keep other plaque from forming. Now, this study was done at the University of Maryland, and they put a Doppler probe on a bunch of medical students' elbows, and they gave them Big Macs, and lo and behold, the artery closed down and clamped down on itself for the next 8 hours and had not even reached its normal caliber after 8 hours. So even eating a high-fat meal clamps down on your arteries. So everything you do all day long causes your arteries to clamp down on themselves. If you're under stress, or you're angry, or you're yelling, or you're having a fight, the bad hormones clamp down on, cause the artery to clamp down. If you're going for a walk, you're releasing endorphins. If you're praying, if you're meditating, you're getting those wonderful hormones that relax the artery wall and open it up. Now, a heart attack is a bruise on the muscle wall. It's called a MI for short, or myocardial infarction, and the total artery is clogged. That's different from congestive heart failure, which is the #1 cause of people going into the hospital today, which is inexcusable. It is the failure of the heart to pump efficiently. And with every heart movement, all of your blood is supposed to go down to your toes and up to your head and get sucked back in a split second. And if your heart is bruised, then the blood stays in your legs, in your abdomen, and in your lungs, and you become congested. And as a result, we end up having that as our #1 discharge diagnosis, because the most common cause in the African American population is uncontrolled blood pressure. And the most common cause in the rest of the population are heart attacks or bruises on your muscle wall. So you see how preventable that is? So if we controlled our blood pressure, and if we didn't have heart attacks, then we wouldn't have congestive heart failure. So what is your risk of having clogged arteries? If you eat animals every day, you are not going to have normal arteries. If your body mass index is over 25, and you have a body mass index chart in your folders, if your LDL, or your bad cholesterol, is over 100, if your systolic blood pressure is over 120, if your fasting blood sugar is over 100, if you don't exercise to release those endorphins, if you smoke, if you have any inflammatory diseases like chronic pelvic diseases and prostatitis and lupus and all of those bad oral hygiene, you sprue out all those 10-syllable nasty hormones into your body all the time, into your artery wall, you will not have normal arteries. Now you see how just about everything on here, except for maybe the last one, you have total control over. Now the biggest disparity, it's all the same disease, but the biggest disparity is a racial and a gender disparity. Among women in this country, African American women have the highest mortality rate from heart disease, which means they are not being prevented, they aren't being diagnosed, and they aren't being treated. The next group are white women. The next data is not accurate, because we do not have accurate data on Native Americans or Latinos, because unless there's something about you that lets people know that you are one of those two groups, you end up being undercounted. And when we look at the Mexican American data, where Mexican American women have risk factors worse than that of African American women, we don't see that same data. And the only data we know is absolutely true is the Asian data. Asian women are the healthiest people in America. And why is that? In fact, they didn't even have heart disease as their major killer until the 1980s, and then they joined the rest of us. All you have to do are 3 things to not end up with atherosclerosis and heart attacks and strokes, and 80% of what we die from. And that's stay thin, exercise and walk, and not smoke. Asian women stay thin and they don't smoke. I don't know if they exercise or not, but all they have to do are those 2 things, and they end up being the healthiest people in America. That's all they had to do. Let me say it again. Stay thin, walk, and not smoke. That's all they had to do. And so if you do those 3 things, you end up staying alive and not dying from all the diseases in America. Now, when we get to the men, however, Asian men smoke. So they lost their benefit. And all the other people in America have really high rates of heart disease and death, and white men have the lowest. And why do white men have the lowest? Because they were the only people studied, and they were the only people treated aggressively, and that's all we ever knew. And so everybody was treating white men and ignoring everybody else in the population, so they ended up having the lowest mortality. Now this is the critical part. This is what you need to do to prevent your heart attack and stroke, or how you need to behave after your heart attack and stroke. I'm making it very simple. We have lots of different guidelines and lots of different derivations of this, but I'm going to make it very simple. Your blood pressure needs to be under 120 and under 80 if you don't want to form plaque. Now, recently you may have seen in the Washington Post, we had all these guidelines where somebody said, it's okay to be 150 if you're old, all right? It's okay to have a stroke. So the SPRINT study came out shortly after that, and lo and behold, it said that they compared 120 to 140. We've known this for decades. If your blood pressure is less than 120, then you had a third of the reduction in heart attack, stroke, and heart failure, and a reduction in death by 25%. So that's why I'm making it simple. 120 over 80, above that you're forming plaque. Weight, for every pound you lose, you have a 2 millimeter drop in your blood pressure, and vice versa. So if you just lose 5 pounds and your blood pressure is 130 or 140, and you lose 5 pounds, it goes down to 130. Simple as that. And that's why we don't treat people immediately. So when somebody tells you that you have pre or borderline something, that doesn't mean you don't have the disease and you're not forming plaque. It just means that you can do little things in your lifestyle and we don't have to give you a pill. And I always look upon borderline and pre like the first trimester of pregnancy, and you know how that turns out. So you know that if you have your blood pressure over 120 and your sugar over 100, you are forming plaque, even though we don't give you a pill immediately. We had a diet called the DASH diet that was talked about for decades, that was rich in fruit, vegetables, low-fat dairy, and low salt, and that substantially lowers the blood pressure. Very simple. We have lots of guidelines about how much, and you have to figure out what's 1,500 and what's 2,000, and one guideline says 2,500. I'm making it simple. Put your salt container in your cupboard when you have a sore throat and put the rest of it out in the garage for your next snow. And then you know that you are in the right limit. Now let's talk about salt for just a minute. Salt is sodium chloride. It doesn't matter if it comes from the Himalayan mountains, from the mine, or from the sea, or if it's kosher, or if it's Christian and blessed, or anything like that. It's still sodium chloride. So all those people are trying to make you think that they blessed it and they walked up to the mountains to get it, and therefore it's better for you. Sodium chloride is sodium chloride, and it causes a reaction on your kidneys that releases a hormone that constricts your artery wall that drives up your blood pressure, okay? So you can pray on it, you can go up to the Himalayan mountains, it's still sodium chloride, and it's still constricting your vessels, all right? Now, this is what you have to worry about. Is this in the middle of the stomach, which happens when we all reach menopause and we get old, and all that metabolism slows, all of our fat forms around our stomach. When this happens, you end up developing insulin resistance. That is the worst place for your fat. And there's something called metabolic syndrome. That's pre-diabetes or borderline diabetes or the first trimester of pregnancy. You're still forming plaque, all right? And we have different numbers. So the waist size for women of color, this is all women of color, no matter whether you're Native American, whether you're Asian, whether you're coming from India, wherever you're coming from, women of color have to be no more than 31.5 before they develop diabetes. European women can be 35 inches. Men of color, 37 inches. Men of European descent can be 40. And what that's saying is that you have to be thinner if you are a woman or a man of color, not more. So you can have all of that stuff about your bone size and where you come from. You look at your wrist. There's nothing fat about your wrist, okay? So don't do that whole bone size. You have to be thinner than everybody else. Just because you have more fat on your bones doesn't mean that your bones are bigger than anybody else. So we have to be thinner, or we end up developing disease at a lower weight. And if your sugar is over 100, or if your blood pressure or your cholesterol is out, you are in that pre-diabetic state, or you're about to become diabetic, and you're still forming plaque. Diabetics cannot have normal arteries. So we call that a coronary artery disease equivalent. So the 20 years before we end up calling you diabetic and treating you, your sugars are up and you're forming plaque. By the time we diagnose you, your arteries are already clogged. That's how serious it is. And diabetes and cholesterol, you need to all be on cholesterol medicines, not because your cholesterol is high, but because your arteries have to be abnormal for the 20 years you spend in that so-called pre-diabetic state. So you should all be on cholesterol medicine to protect your artery wall and protect the rupture of that vulnerable plaque. Ideally, you want your cholesterol level, your bad cholesterol level, to be under 70, because there is a trend towards reversal when you get to under 70. Forget about the total. It's the bad cholesterol you need to worry about. Now let's talk about weight. You're overweight if your body mass index is over 25. And if your body mass index is over 25, you're going to die from your weight. Let me say it again. If your body mass index is over 25, you will end up dying from your weight and all of the diseases that come with your body mass index being over 25. Now you're going to say, well, that's for Europeans. No. Body mass index over 25 means you're going to develop all of the diseases that come with that. Diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. Now this is what happens when you're overweight. You end up having more stroke, coronary heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, gallbladder disease, arthritis, gout, deep vein thrombosis, venous stasis, cancer of the breast, uterus, colon, prostate, kidneys, and pancreas, sleep apnea, fatty liver, and reproductive abnormalities. And there's no more room on the slide. And if you are overweight, I did a second slide, what happens to the heart is you have actual structural changes. You have an increase in the left atrium, the upper chamber, increase in atrial fibrillation. You know that disease you hear about every third commercial about the blood thinners and atrial fibrillation is because of the stretching of the upper chamber, and you have an increase in the left ventricle size. So the same thing that happens to the hypertensive heart is happening if you're overweight. You have the same stress on the heart. Fat is a metabolically active tissue that attacks every organ in your body. So it is not about what you think you're supposed to look like. It is just like the cancer cell. It attacks every organ in your body. And that's why we don't need to be overweight. Now, who is overweight in this country? African American women, 68%, Asian women, 10%. That's why they have the lowest rate of everything. White women, nearly 50%, and Mexican American women, 69%. So you see how they cannot have the lowest number of mortality, because you see that they have the same risk factors. And this is what we have to make sure that we don't fall prey to. Magazines telling us that the full-figured revolution, if you've got it, flaunt it. The only thing we're flaunting is the highest disease rate from heart disease and death. Prevention, can you turn it back? Yes, you can. If you walk 30 minutes a day, you have a 50% reduction in heart attack, stroke, and cancer. And more, you get better results. Let me say it again. If you walk 30 minutes a day, you have a 50% reduction in heart attack, stroke, and cancer. There is no medicine and no procedures that gives us a 50% reduction in anything. And that's because of the endorphins that are released. You are what you eat, nutrition. Bad cholesterol is the one that's important. It's called bad because it's bad. And we have old data that says that you can be 130 and 160. There's even Quest Lab actually has on their sheet that you can be 130. No, you cannot be 130 because the average heart attack and stroke is 130. So then you want to be under that. That is way old data. So nobody should be over 100 LDL. Ideally, you want to be under 70 because that is where our trials have suggested there is a trend towards reversing the plaque. So if you really want to make sure that you're out of bad range, get your LDL under 70. And where does cholesterol come from? It's amazing a lot of people don't know where it comes from. It only comes from animals. Every living cell is made up of cholesterol. And you may have a genetic defect where you cannot metabolize your cholesterol. But for the most part, most of us get it from eating animals. Now, you are an animal, and your liver is made up of enzymes that are supposed to metabolize your cholesterol. When you dump all these other animals' cholesterol in your liver goes on strike. So if your LDL is over 100, your liver is on strike. It says, I have worked enough today, I've taken care of your cholesterol, I am not taking care of the pig and the fish and the chicken and the beef. That's it. Okay? And then it just floats through your artery wall. So you know whether your liver's on strike or not based on your LDL. Over 100, it's on strike. Under 100, it's not. And now you all hear all this anti-statin data, and it's on YouTube and everything like that, and all this horrible thing. Just remember one thing. Why are statins so life-saving? Because they take care of all those nasty 10-syllable words, and they improve all the good things. And so that if you do have a high cholesterol, especially if you've had a heart attack or a stroke or you've been diagnosed with disease, you want to be able to hope you can tolerate one, because it is the difference between life and death and reversal of the plaque. Protein sources. Protein comes from beans, which include soybeans as tofu, animal products, dairy, and meat. You want to pick the lowest cholesterol animals like poultry and fish without the skin. Most of the cells are on the skin, therefore most of the cholesterol is in the skin. You cannot eat an animal every time you eat and have arteries free of cholesterol. Color code your food. Green food is lowest in sugar, highest in nutrients. Red, yellow, and orange food is high in sugar, but also high in nutrients. White food is refined, high in sugar, and no nutrients. You should be eating nothing white. and cauliflower doesn't qualify, it's beige. So when you eat something white, you are eating a bowl of sugar. So if you eat a bowl of white rice, you're eating a bowl of sugar. When you eat a piece of white bread, you're eating a stick of sugar cane. So your goal is to get the sugar out of your diet because sugar is addicting. Salt is addicting. Caffeine is addicting. The food industry has addicted all of you to all the foods that make them money and kill you. So if it comes in a package with 10-syllable words on the side, it is meant to kill you and make somebody money. So do not eat anything that comes in a package because you have to have too much education and information about nutrition to understand what those words mean. They can have a really healthy product and then have high fructose corn syrup in it. My husband bought these high protein chips the other day, and I read the side and it said high fructose corn syrup. So that was not a healthy item. So even the health food items are meant to kill you as well. It's meant to make somebody money. So you're living in the South, everything is fresh, stay on the outside of the store. The only reason you have to go into those shelves on your supermarket is to get your Tide and your toothpaste and your deodorant. You have no business buying any food that's in the middle aisles, and then you know you're doing okay. Sex and gender differences, we do present slightly differently. Most people do have chest pain, but women may have more back pain, dyspnea, shortness of breath, nausea, and fatigue. This is very important. Most women, especially African-American women, the data shows stop exercising by the 9th grade. Why is that? That's when we start going to hairdressers. And so you know that your mother just put out $120 and she's going to give you an excuse not to go to that Dunbar pool. And so what happens is that we stop exercising early, and so we don't get to the point where we can have chest pain. So we have a lot of fatigue, and I always tell patients that fatigue is very important. So that if you always loved to go to Lord & Taylor for 5 hours when you were 30 and 40, and now you don't feel like going to Lord & Taylor's, you got clogged arteries. Don't tell your doctor that. Just say that you heard a lecture on heart disease and you know that your fatigue may be associated with that. But anytime you can't do something that you enjoyed doing 30 years ago, it's because your arteries are clogged and you can't get enough oxygen to your heart. What is the racial and gender bias? You need to know that if you're an African-American woman, you are least likely to be referred for these studies. And then this is what the angioplasty is, where you go up the leg or in the arm and you go down into the artery and you smash open the cholesterol. I said smash. Now, when you smash things, you know that's not a good thing, now is it? So you beat up on the inside of the artery wall, and then you've started a whole new physiology in that the artery begins to close back down on itself. And we have to use stents and other things and lots of medicine in order to keep it open. Now, who should get an angioplasty? This is very important information for you. One thing, you have to be symptomatic. We used to put a stent in every artery that we saw. And you know there's been several lawsuits about that now. You cannot do that anymore. First, you have to have symptoms. Second, the artery needs to be over 70% closed, and there has to be proof that that artery is causing the symptoms, like a nuclear stress test or something. And the most important thing is that angioplasties and open heart surgery do not prevent heart attacks or death. They only prevent symptoms, because it's the vulnerable soft plaque that formed last year that's causing the heart attack, not the one that they're trying to open up. So it will not prevent a heart attack or stroke. Therefore, it's supposed to be treated medically if it doesn't fit this criteria anymore, because we know we can reverse plaque. So what you do is they tell you that we can't open it up right now, but then you work with your doctor to get rid of all your risk factors. And then if you have too many clogs, then you end up with bypass surgery, which is the arteries from the mammary arteries, which are on the chest wall, that are brought down, like this one here, or you have veins in your leg that they bring down. So these are the things that you don't want to have, because we know that we can reverse all of this disease with medicine, and most definitely with things like aspirin and a statin. In conclusion, you are looking at a lethal weapon. And the fact is that most Americans fill it up with high-fat, high-cholesterol foods that clog our arteries, leading us to an increase in heart attack and stroke. So the next time you pick up one of these weapons, make sure that you use it for self-defense and not self-destruction. And I'm told I am told that your politicians took up all of your question and answer time, so you do not have question and answer time. You have to go out into the hallway to ask questions.
That was really wonderful, wasn't it? Yes. I want to take this opportunity and give Dr. Davidson a plaque in recognition of her commitment. I don't know, this was the first time for me seeing her, but I know she has been out in the community and really talking about this and committed to making sure we understand that forks are weapons. I know, I gotta really think about my diet. Are you staying for lunch? Don't judge us for what we're serving today. But in all seriousness, Dr. Davidson has such a commitment to community service and such a commitment to making sure that our seniors in the community are healthy. And you know, our theme this year is Healthy Hearts. And when we talk about that, it's so important that you all understand what you can do for your own health in the everyday decisions that we make. And so thank you so much for volunteering your time, for your commitment to the community. I tell you, if all doctors were like you, I'd go to more, right? So thank you so much. We appreciate the work that you do.
By the way, doctor, I think I need your card, okay? Everything that she told you really makes a lot of sense. Personally, you know, I haven't had any scares yet. It's probably because I exercise. I'm in the gym at least 4 days a week, and I try to watch out for that salt, okay? What she told you will help you have a long and healthy life, and I think that's so wonderful. We're going to exercise one more thing. So we'll talk about exercise. We're going to do this before we go, and we're going to tell you a little bit about what you're going to do after this event. We're going to do what we started out with, the whole theme of the Mayor's 5th Annual Senior Symposium. I want you to help me with this once again. Say, healthy homes, healthy hearts, thank you, Dr. Davidson, and healthy living. Thank you so much for coming to the Mayor's 5th Annual Senior Symposium. It's not over. If you note, there are an event that's going to occur right here in this room, so please make yourself comfortable and stay here. But look in your programs. You'll find that there are other events that are going on, other workshops and what have you. Thank you so much. God bless you, and enjoy the Mayor's 5th Annual Senior Symposium. Bye-bye.